Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren White, and I am here for another episode of the Ask a Roofer podcast. And I am so excited. We have two guests today from Raincoat Roofing to talk about commercial roof emergency response essentials. So let's start with Sarah. Will you introduce yourself, please, and your role at Raincoat Roofing?
Hi, everybody. I am Sarah Sutton-Shouse, and I'm the Director of Service Ops at Raincoat Roofing.
Awesome. And Eric?
Eric Suess. I'm the president of the maintenance division, and my dad owns Raincoat Roofing, so kind of the partner in crime that makes Raincoat what it is.
Very nice. I love it. Well, great. So let's just get right into it. How do you define a roofing emergency on a commercial property?
I think the customer is really what defines a roofing emergency. If the customer feels like the leak is urgent enough, if the customer feels like the damage is bad enough that they're willing to, call us out and say it's an emergency, it's an emergency. I think where we see the differentiators are between like a blow-off emergency and a life-threatening emergency versus just a roof leak. But anything that, you have an impact to the business, impact to the dwelling, anything like that, that can't be stopped by a bucket or held off should be considered an emergency.
I think that building owners, there was a saying that I had learned a long time ago that says people don't care about the roofs, they don't care about water in their buildings. And, anytime that there's water coming in a building, whether it be in a commercial building or a house or any type of structure, people don't like it. So they define what the emergency is. Sometimes it's, hey, you got to get out here. It's leaking over a panel and you got to get out here today. Sometimes it's, hey, it's an emergency, but we can wait till Monday or wait till the following day. So emergencies are defined by what the customer's level of pain is. Having a full-blown maintenance company, we definitely have different variations. We've had some crazy weather in Chicago and had some different emergencies where it's, get out here now, get it buttoned up, and it might be putting a tarp over, might be a temporary roof. So there's a lot of different ways to define an emergency. But like I said, I think the way that I always look at it is that, people aren't as worried about the roof as they are about the water that's coming into the building.
Yeah, that's, I think, an important distinction to make. And, to your point too, if it's over an electrical panel or over, something that's really sensitive and needs to be taken care of, that's where that kind of line, that spectrum of emergency can come in.
Today with all the servers and computers and IT stuff, that really, escalates a lot of the calls that we get. If it's leaking in any of those areas, it's like, how, you should have been here 10 minutes ago. No, that is just a crazy, crazy trigger. Where if it's leaking in the middle of a factory where they make widgets, yeah, we can wait. The ceiling's not falling in. It's leaking over, a line someplace. Get out here as soon as you can.
Yeah. And I think the differentiator too is what kind of customer are they? Are they residential? Because a residential emergency is going to look very different from a commercial emergency. So know your customer, and ultimately that's going to be your dictating factor, all told.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when a building owner notices, an emergency, what are some things that they should or should not do, kind of that immediate next step? And, why is a quick professional response really important?
Don't stop after one phone call. A lot of times they'll leave a voicemail with one person and just assume that that person's going to call them back. If you have a company that you use, call the main line, call the emergency line, call your rep so that as many people know that you have an issue with. I think that I called and left a voicemail is kind of the default. But if you called and left a voicemail and you didn't get an immediate call back, you're not getting addressed as quickly as you should. So make another phone call. I think that they should not stop calling until they have a representative on the phone.
Yeah. And I think it's really important too, to make sure that the company that you're calling, you know, the avenues of how to call. At Raincoat, we've got a couple different ways that you can call in. So many times you hear, you made a phone call and the contractor's not in business anymore. I just had my roof put on 2 years ago. So knowing your contractor, knowing what roof you have, you should be getting the manufacturer involved. You still have a guarantee if there's still some sort of, NDL, whatever it is. Those are things you have to put into the emergency. Like, okay, how am I going to fix this where it's not going to void the rest of the roof? if it's a true emergency and there's a fire, one thing you're gonna guarantee is you're gonna have damage outside of what you called us for. Because if the fire department or somebody else has to come out, they chop holes, they do all kinds of things. They're not worried about the roof. They're worried about getting their emergency to stop, and then we have to fix that emergency after the fact. So I think really making sure that you've got a good call system when you have an emergency and somebody's calling. It's not uncommon that when you are in the middle of emergency, like Sarah said, you're going to leave a voicemail. But with at Raincoat, we've probably got 2 or 3 different ways that people can call in. You can go to the website. We've got an emergency number. You've got the main line. We've got cell phones. So it's knowing the contractor and the best way to get a hold of them. Sometimes it's reaching out to the salesman. Some people have just a really good relationship with their salesperson, and they might call them directly. And that's fine, because then the salesperson gets a hold of the person at the company. The other thing you got to think about with emergencies too, as a contractor, is in a perfect world, you're going to get the call at 7 o'clock in the morning when all the stores are open and everything's ready, right? But that's not always the case. So you have to be prepared as a company as well. So, we have emergency stuff in the shop that we know that is there for those types of things, tarps, pumps, materials, that kind of stuff, that no matter what, we can grab something and make the building watertight. A tarp's not always the answer. We just had an instance last week or 2 weeks ago where we had an emergency. We went out and temped the roof, and then we got more storms and more of the roof blew off, and we had to go temp the temps to put more. So sometimes it's not always a one and done.
AskARoofer Minisodes are brought to you by AskARoofer.com and RoofersCoffeeShop.com. In each bite-sized episode, we explore everything from basic roof maintenance tips to the latest in roofing technology and sustainability. Whether you're a homeowner, a building owner, or just curious about the craft, these minisodes are packed with valuable insights to help you navigate your roofing projects and home or building ownership with confidence. So stay tuned, solve your roofing puzzles, and let's stay ahead of the curve with AskARoofer Minisodes. Go to AskARoofer.com to learn more today.